Hey, what's going on, guys? It is your host with the most, Underdone Toaster, coming live. I'm joined by my co-host, Z Buckner, for episode 19 of the Social Eclipse Podcast. Buck, thanks for joining me today.
You're welcome. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Just started winter break, much needed, and it's super long too. It's like 3.5 weeks. So I'm,
Wow.
yeah, pretty long, much needed. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, you got finals done and everything? Everything's cool?
Yeah, and I'm happy to say I ended the semester with straight A's except for one A-.
Wow.
So,
You know, I always thought people were elite when they always said, I got straight A's except for the A-. I'm like, bro, it's still an A.
it is. Yeah, I'll take that any
Because
day.
it does still count as a 4.0, does it not?
No, it doesn't. It's like a 3.9 or whatever.
Oh, so that's why they say it. Oh, yeah, that makes more sense. Cool. See, I would know this kind of stuff, but you can obviously tell that I'm not a straight A student. So.
Yeah, that's right. So, as you guys have been able to tell in our philosophy podcast, we like to focus a lot on the youth because that is what's going to determine the future of our country, future of humanity. And so we do have another podcast topic today that focuses on that a little bit. And our topic is I was going to word it in a more philosophical way, but I can't think of a way, so I'm just going to say it. The topic is, what does school cover now versus what should they cover? Or if you want to twist it a little bit so it's more philosophy-based, you could just say, what are we teaching young people now versus what should we be teaching them? So,
Yeah, this is a good one. I think we came up with this last week when we were like in the middle of our podcast. We're actually making do on that promise because it just kind of came to us. It's like, man, we always complain. I think every kid complains. It's like, man, I don't like what's being taught to us when we could be learning this, especially when you get older. Like, I still feel that way. Like, why didn't they teach us this and this and this? So I think we're going to have a lot to talk about.
yeah. I think that a big part of it for me is it's not just the content that they teach, but it's also the fact that there's not a lot of repetition. Like maybe in math it builds on each other, so that way as you go into later years, then you remember your basic things like PEMDAS and algebra and stuff like that. And the same thing with English. But I feel like for classes like geography or history or social sciences, I feel like you learn a bunch of stuff in like your freshman year of high school, and then you never really take anything similar to that class again, and you just completely forget all of it. It was like a total waste of time.
Well, it's use it or lose it, and when you're doing math, you're always using past stuff. It's like learning a language, you know what I mean? You learn a little bit and then you learn a little bit, but you're always using the whole language. You're using everything you learn up to that point, and you're right. Math is that way. English is that way. Writing, But when it comes to like history, or, science, even, I feel like it's a lot more varied. And so when you're not drawing upon past lessons and past years, I agree. It's definitely a problem.
Yeah. So throughout this episode, we'll definitely cover a lot about what, in our opinion, we would do in order to improve that. But in order to really tackle the core of the issue, I think a good starting point would be to ask ourselves, like, what should the goal of school be? Should it be more to educate us about the world, or should it be more to prepare us for the workforce? Like, what if school works, then what is it supposed to produce in youth? So,
do you want to just have gloves off, just right out of the gate, say which subjects we hated, so we can get the bias out of the way and know where we stand?
We are strongly biased. If our viewers don't know, we did go to high school together. We took a lot of classes together, and I bet a lot of our preferences are going to be similar.
Yeah, I would say so. How do you feel about math?
I hated it. I'll give you a straight up honest answer, bro.
I think that's one we might disagree. We might disagree a bit. I did not hate math. I enjoyed it other than like calculus and stuff. But like algebra, geometry, I actually enjoyed it. But I think we'd agree with everything else.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see. So. Obviously, we liked band.
Yeah.
Gym with
extracurriculars were good.
We had a great gym teacher, so yeah, we enjoyed that. Extracurriculars. I feel like we didn't really like science very much.
Nope.
And I'm a science guy.
History.
Like that's what I do in college, and yeah, in high school it was terrible. Yeah, history, geography.
I love the idea of science, but like how they do it in school, I hate it.
Yeah, they could definitely improve on that.
Yeah, we liked history and stuff. We liked like computers classes. Anything extracurricular was good, you know.
Yeah.
English. I actually liked English. I don't know about you, but
I feel English was a lot dependent on what teacher you had. Because
that's true.
The curriculum was very similar throughout all of them. Like you'd read similar books, but it was really depending on the teacher and like how they taught and how fun they made it.
Yeah, I agree.
So,
all right, now that you know our biases out of the way.
Yeah, there's a little bit of background info for you guys. So, in terms of what is school supposed to produce, first of all, it's crazy to think how much school we go through. We go through 12 years. 12 years of school, all the way up until we're officially an adult and we're supposed to leave the nest. I mean, that's a ton of school. So it should, I don't know. It must make, second probably to our parents and how they parent us, like their parenting style. I'm going to say that the school we go to probably makes like the largest trajectory on where our life is going to go.
Yeah, I would agree. And not for everyone, but I would even say that for some kids, they probably learn more at school than from their parents. You know, I definitely think that can be the case. And both directly and indirectly, you know, the whole point of school is obviously to be taught. But not even just that, but taking into account like the things you indirectly learn from school. You know what I mean? Not coming out of the teacher's mouth, but like how to interact with people, how to get things done. Like nobody really teaches you like work ethic like directly in school. You know what I mean? They teach you curriculum and they teach you book smarts and everything, and it's kind of up to you to apply yourself. And this is with some exceptions. So yeah, I don't know. I look back and it's like we had 12 years of schooling and we had all of that. I almost feel like we should be smarter. You know what I mean? Like,
it's a lot of school.
The product of 12? Yeah, am I really the product of 12 years of schooling? It doesn't really feel like that. And I don't mean I'm stupid, but like, man, if you really supercharge 12 years of school, and it's not entirely on them, I get that. Like, it's on me as well. Like, how much do I want to get out of it? That's totally a part of it too. But I don't know. It just doesn't feel like I am the culmination of 12 years of schooling. Plus, I mean, that's not even counting college.
Yeah. It was really interesting for me when I graduated and I like went to college. One of the first classes that they recommended was like intro to college or like how to study, how to get good grades. I can't remember the exact word. Maybe the wording was college essentials. Maybe that was the class.
Yeah.
But I was like, why are we just now getting this in our freshman year of college when we should have been getting all this information throughout our entire elementary school, middle school, and high school? How to study, how to organize your time, how to do, enough time for homework and extracurricular activities. Like, I don't feel like any of that happened during high school. Maybe I'm misremembering, but I swear I didn't get any of that.
No, yeah. The closest we got was, remember advisory class, I think it was called? And it was like, what, once a week or like twice a month or something? You remember that class, advisory?
It sounds familiar.
Yeah, there was, and again, this is probably, Greek to everybody else. It might have just been our school or our district, but like once a week or twice a month or something like that, you had a specific teacher that you went to that he kind of taught those things. Like, how are you doing on your classes? Like, this is how to study, but it wasn't super in depth. You know what I mean? Oh, you know what? And you know what it was? It was like, prepare for your senior project. Like, how you doing
Oh,
with
yeah.
that? And it was that kind of stuff. You remember?
Yeah.
Yeah, like it was a weird class. It was almost kind of useless, but I think that was the point of the class. So hey, at least they tried, kind of.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember
But
that a little bit.
yeah,
So
yeah,
I have to pose the question because we got to play devil's advocate at least a little bit. We could harp on schools as
yeah.
much as we want, but is it because of their teaching style and the information, or could it be because we were just so young and we didn't think it was going to change our future very much that we chose not to care and not to try?
Absolutely both. But I think there's a third one. I think it's beyond just the choice. I mean, we're kids, and I don't mean to absolve them completely from blame, but like when you're a kid, you want to be a kid, right? Regardless if you choose it or not. Like, I feel like some part of just being a kid means you just don't want to go to school for 8 hours a day. You know what I mean? And some kids are like really good at like overcoming that and like realizing the importance of it, but can't really expect a 12-year-old kid to absolutely love school. I just think that's the case. It's just it's kind of the way it is. But absolutely, I think all of that comes into play.
Yeah, I wonder. I know that when we were in high school, it was probably like maybe our junior year, that it became an option to focus more on like trade school classes, or you could do running start and go to college early.
Yeah.
Do you remember the trade classes I'm talking about? There was like a different building you went to,
Yes.
wasn't there?
No, I think it was a different school because you could do running start, you could go to the college, but there was also like a trade school, and I forget what it was called, but I remember a couple kids that went to that.
Okay.
Unless I'm thinking about something else than you are.
No, I
But
think we're thinking about the same thing.
yeah, you could start doing that in junior year.
Yeah, I mean, I know that junior year, it probably makes the most sense because that's when you're getting close to graduation. That's when you're seriously considering what you're going to do in the future. But before that, it does seem like everything is so broad and you have no idea what you're going to do in life that it's like, you could be learning about all the subjects and you're not going to give a care in the world unless you have your career figured out. And we shouldn't, I'm not saying we should expect kids who are, 12, 13, or 14 to know what they're going to be doing for the rest of their life. But maybe it would be a better idea to implement more of a career-driven education system. So that way, even if it is, completely illogical and you think you're going to be an astronaut someday, well, at least you have something that's driving you and motivating you, and you're actually paying attention in classes, thinking, hey, like someday I'm going to be an astronaut, and so I'm going to pay attention and try my hardest.
Yeah. What did you say initially? And then I kind of went into biases. You said we should figure out whether we're talking like, is it school's job to do this versus this?
Yeah, sorry, I brought up the core question, and I think we completely dodged it because it's a hard question.
That's okay.
But so if school works, then what is it supposed to produce? So what should be the goal of school?
Right. Good question. I think it's not really to prepare. I mean, was it the Political Compass that had this question, or is it to prepare you for the workforce, or is it to like build life skills and teach you how to think and this?
Yeah, it was probably the Political
Out of
Compass.
those two, I think it's I think out of those two, I think it's the latter. I think, to be honest, this might be a hot thing, but I actually don't really have a problem with what school teaches. Well, I guess my school, my experience. I don't think the problem is the actual curriculum, like the information in there. I think it's all great that we teach kids that, and I'm grateful that I learned all that. I think it's the method in which it was taught and how slow it was, more than that. So with that kind of philosophy, I guess you could say that I do kind of think that that's the purpose of school. I think that's the intent, is to kind of like everything in there is to kind of mold us, like this is how you problem solve. You know what I mean? Not just math, but like this is how you problem solve, and this is why history is important. And it's kind of learning how to use your brain and how to develop your brain more than it is actual like this is your job someday, and pick a career and this. So I get what the intent is. That's, in my opinion, that's what I feel like they're going for.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say that that's a big part of it. It's like not just what you're learning, but how to learn, how to be open-minded. Yeah, one thing I'll give the English classes especially is reading books that had like some pretty profane content in it. I'm glad that they do that, because you do have to expand your horizons as a kid, because you might not get it from home. So the classroom sometimes is the only way that you're going to be able to learn about stuff that otherwise you wouldn't. I would say the part of it is preparing kids to become like regular citizens, like knowing how to act in public, knowing how to do basic things. And then on top of that would be like training for more of economic utility. Like what kind of job are you going to get? Are you going to be going to college? You're going to be going to trade school. So I do feel like it's a mix of all those different things in one way or another.
Yeah, I agree. And like I said, I think the content in there was good. I'm glad I learned like math skills, and English, now that you bring it up, like taught us a lot, not just reading, but writing. And like, I always thought it was kind of stupid. Now I love it, but I always thought it was kind of stupid. Like, what does the color of the curtains represent in Great Gatsby? Like this. And as stupid as that is, and as much as I enjoy it now, to be honest, it kind of like, it doesn't matter what, that kind of stuff symbolizes, as much as it is just kind of teaching kids how to like consider things that they wouldn't have considered otherwise, like even if it's meaningless. Like, I think that kind of stuff is good. But I don't know. I feel like I think it could be taught quicker, I feel like I could have learned more in the amount of time that I had. And I guess you have to teach you have to teach the slowest kid in the class, right? It's kind of hard when you have 30 kids in a class if you're going really fast and everything. But I guess we could kind of go into, what is the school not teaching that they should teach, right? Our core question. If that's really the purpose, is to kind of prepare us rather than, gear us up for an actual career, then what is it missing?
Yeah. The problem with that question is, I feel like what school focuses on now is like, what can you do? What can you learn? What can you apply to life? How can you be a good citizen and work in the workforce in the future? But if you want to lean more towards like, who are you going to be as a person, the problem with that is parents might have a problem with what school is teaching, right? That's why school doesn't involve things like religion, or they do some
identity and all that.
Yeah, identity. They do some ethics in English class, but the more you turn away from your basic knowledge classes and you instead focus on who am I becoming as a person, the more parents are going to rise up and be like, hey, that's my job. Like, stay out of our business. See what I mean?
Well, I don't know if it's who I am as a person as much as like, I mean, that's a good point. That's not where I was going. So I'm trying to see how I can kind of steer back. But what did I say that kind of made you think it was about identity?
Whatever you said before. I'll have to rewind the tape. But go ahead and repeat what you said, but maybe in a slightly different manner, and maybe I misunderstood.
Well, okay, so we've agreed that the purpose of school, in our opinion, is to kind of formulate not really identity, but kind of building blocks on how to think how to reason, how to, why history is important, kind of just like fundamental things that humans should know as adults, right? Rather than like, oh, most jobs need math, most jobs need science. Because as a kid, that's why we learned science, that's why we learned math, that's why history, because most jobs, maybe not all of them, most of them use all that in some way. And now I kind of see, I don't agree with that. It's nice to know certain things. Like when I'm cooking, I'm going to use math, this. But it's more about like these are the things that will help you formulate ideas and like challenge your brain. And, that's best done in things like history and science and math. Does that make more sense?
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Okay. Well, if that's true, and if we agree that that's the purpose, and that's why we're learning what we're learning in K-12, then what are we missing? You know what I mean? How can we supercharge that?
Yeah.
Like what subjects should we be teaching?
Maybe it's like I said before, I do feel like there needs to be more repetition in general. Like in history class, we went over the Civil War maybe once or twice during the duration of high school, I would say. Dude, I love history, and I'll give you an honest answer. Yeah. I hardly remember anything from what we learned about the Civil War or the Revolutionary War of the War of 1812. Like, all that stuff, I just, like, we learned it once, maybe twice with some of the really important things. And after that, it was completely gone for me. Now, is it important information? In a way, but it's not stuff that we're going to be using every day. But I still feel like that should be a bigger focus on school, not continuously learn new content, but review the basics and throw new content in there as you go on.
Yeah, I agree. I think we should have learned more in history class, to be honest. And if I'm remembering right, I feel like maybe this is just me being like salty about what classes I had to take, but I feel like we took more math classes than we did history. I mean, is that true? Like more math and science than history? Like,
yeah, I would say that. Sure. I would say that math is more
so different.
Yeah, I'd say that math is more like of a core subject, and history is a little bit more on the extracurricular side of things. So yeah, we definitely took more math.
This might be nitpicky, but I think history is more important than what we were made to believe. Like based on how much we learned it and how much, you're right, we glossed over certain things. I mean, we hyper focused on like World War II and stuff, but I barely learned anything about World War I, man. You know what I mean? You're right. Civil War. I feel like the curriculum hyper focuses on like Vietnam, World War II, and like the revolution, right? Mm-hmm. But there's so many other things, and there's so many things out there to learn. And I know you can't really, accurately reflect like the importance of all of that on a kid. And, there's only so much time, even though you got 12 years, but there's certainly too much emphasis put on certain subjects, I think. You know what I mean? I think math is one of them, and I do like math, but man, sometimes I felt like one unit was just like one concept. Like, this is how you do this kind of math problem. And like, we just do that for like 2 weeks. You know what I mean? Like, we weren't really learning. We were just kind of, here's the thing, and like keep doing it in like 30 different questions. And if you can do one, you can do all 30. So what's the point?
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, maybe I hate math more than I remember, but I think that's where the inefficiency is, right? We just glossed over so many other things that we could have been doing because we spent so much time on like one specific thing in a lot of different classes.
Yeah, I'm probably just saying this now because I love history these days. Back in high school, I didn't give a flip about it. But I think it would be great if they changed the teaching style in history from like straight memorize these dates, straight facts, but instead they changed it into like, hey, why did this war start? Like, why did the Nazis get away with it for so long? Maybe a little bit of alternative history, like, oh, this could have happened. I don't know, maybe things like that. So that way, when we think about history, we're not just like, oh, I memorized all this stuff, but we can more relate it to where America is today and what events could happen to change the course of history in the future.
I agree. I think one of the biggest things I would change about school curriculum, I think you learn best when you have to teach, number one. You know, I don't know if you've ever experienced that, but when you have to teach something, you learn it well, right? And number two, just interactive things. And you got to keep kids interested. I'm going to shout out Mr. Ford. Mr. Ford was not my favorite teacher in high school, but looking back in retrospect, he was probably the best teacher. Yeah. That guy, like something like his activities, number one, he would have us do like, you know, when we're learning about the government, he split us up, man. Somebody was the president. We had a Congress, we had a Senate. We would pass our own bills. We played games where we had war with each other and we were countries. He was so interactive. And like, even just his lectures, I'm sure they bored some people, but like you could tell the guy, like he was interested in what he was talking about, you know, and he was very detailed in the way he described things. So there is absolutely something to like, number one, the kind of assignments you're doing, the kind of interaction you're doing, you know, how you portray, like how entertaining you can portray your subject. I think there's absolutely something to that, you know, rather than just like, you know, our math classes where they just, hey, do these 50 questions in the book.
Yeah.
I just like, me personally, I think that it's not very efficient. So yeah, there's definitely strategies to make it more interesting for kids and more memorable.
Yeah. To jump back for just a moment and give us an idea of why this is so important. I just looked up some quick facts about the United States educational system. Now, we all know, like we hear facts all the time, especially since COVID, that reading levels, math levels, educational levels of high schoolers these days are like the worst in all of history in the United States.
Yeah.
So here's just a few quick facts for you. So 2022, the U.S. ranks 28 out of 37 developed countries.
Wow.
And that was in math. For science, we were 12th. For reading, we were 10th. And the U.S. spends about $20,000 per pupil on average, while the average for all developed countries is $14,000. So we're spending a lot more money.
Okay.
And recent data shows the U.S. 12th grade reading performances is at its lowest in over 3 decades.
Wow.
And a significant portion of U.S. high school seniors lack basic proficiency in math, about 45%, and reading, about 30%. So
I'm sorry, 45% of the population lacks basic proficiency after graduation? Is that what you just said?
45% of all U.S. high school seniors lack basic proficiency in math. And then same thing.
What? There's no way.
30% in reading.
That's crazy. According to who? That's a crazy statistic.
It comes from Reuters, but
wow.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
I mean, I wonder if we could learn things from different countries. Like, obviously, whenever you... I remember this meme. It was like the international tournament of math between the United States and China. And you look at the Chinese team, and it's all Chinese children, of course.
Yeah.
And then you look at the USA team, and it looked almost the exact same. They're all Asian kids. It's pretty funny. But I wonder if we could learn something from other countries. I know that a lot of countries are way more rigorous. Some of them are year-round.
More disciplined.
More disciplined. A lot of them you need school uniforms. And we might look at that and be like, oh, well, that's too much. Let kids have some fun. But at the same time, there has to be a balance. right? Like, obviously, we want our kids to have recess and breaks. Like summer break is healthy for you. I've seen studies before that if you do school year round, then like that's not healthy. You need to give kids a chance to be kids. But when is it a breaking point where you're failing so much and your national average is so low that you're like, yeah, it is actually a discipline problem. We need to kick them into gear a little bit more.
Yeah, I don't know. It's tough to diagnose an entire country. You know what I mean? Because there's so many micro problems that could exist. So very, very hard to answer that question. I'm not sure if it's a problem of discipline. It definitely could be. Maybe we just don't care as much, but or maybe it is a curriculum problem. Maybe it is like our teachers better. Are our teachers paid? Sounds like our teachers are paid more. If they're investing more on the kid. I'm not sure where that statistic boils down to. Is that like how good our schools actually are? Are they quality schools or? Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea, man. That's a very loaded question.
Yeah, one show that my wife used to watch all the time was Little House on the Prairie. Have you ever seen that?
Oh yeah, my mom loves that show.
Yeah, so obviously it's a TV show, so it's not going to be completely accurate. But
I know where you're going.
Yeah, but I would always watch the scenes of all the kids in class, and like the teacher would be teaching, asking questions, holding that like meter stick ruler. And dude, if a kid acted out for a second, then she would spank them and throw them out. And
right.
I'm assuming it really was that strict back then, where maybe kids were smarter because they had to pay attention or else they were going to be punished by the school and by their parents.
Right.
But I wonder if part of the reason there's been such a decline over the years is because there's been more of a lack of discipline. Like that has to be a big part of it, surely.
I mean, I'm sure it is, but the problem is like, regardless of whether smacking kids, you can definitely make an argument it's going to like, they're going to care more about the curriculum, but like, is that okay? It doesn't make it okay. You know what I mean? So it's like, you're right. There's a balance in there. Like, are we becoming too lax? Like, what can we do? Is it less recess? Is it, stricter grades? Is it, more incentives? I don't know what those would be, but like incentives for good grades. Perhaps more recess for kids who have good grades, like a weird system like that. Like I remember there was something, do you remember like in elementary school, there were kids who had like, what was it? Like self-manager or something like that. Like if you were extra good or you had extra good grades, you could get a self-manager badge.
Yeah, sounds familiar. I know that they were like hall managers, but
Yeah, something like that. But those kids had like an extra 10 minutes of recess. I remember that. Like they got to go a little bit early or they stayed a little bit later or something.
Yeah. Yeah, it rings a bell.
Something like that. Yeah, something like that. Like maybe that kind of, it's like reverse. Like you don't have to punish bad kids. Maybe you just reward good kids and good grades, and maybe something like that would incentivize better, more effort or better performance.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. It doesn't always have to be.
Creatures, you know what I mean?
That's true. Yeah, it doesn't.
We see a donut and we fight for the donut.
Well, it's well known that if you want to not make someone, but if you want to push someone to do something, you can either threaten punishment or reward. So,
right.
The biggest reward that we have in high school is grades. And there's not a great emphasis on grades. I know that we're told over and over that, hey, if you don't get good grades, you're not going to get in college. You're going to wind up being a garbage man or something, or a janitor. But there should be more than that. I mean, obviously they can't give us money, so I'm not really sure what that thing needs to be. But I feel like when you get your report card and you're just a lazy student, then a bunch of B's and C's aren't going to motivate you to change, right?
Dude, I just had a crazy idea. I have a crazy idea. What if every year your school is competing against other schools in the state, and the best schools get better school lunches?
Hey.
Yo, because those school lunches are terrible. What if you get better funding for your school lunches and like the quality of the food actually goes up?
Hey, remember?
That's a crazy idea.
Is this just a fever dream or is this true? When we were in elementary school, we would have companies come, give us an assembly, and literally pitch us rewards if we went door to door and sold like chocolate to people.
That's actually true. Yeah, we were selling like cinnamon, like chocolate or almonds or something. And you had this brochure of rewards. You're totally right.
First of all, how is that legal? How is that legal?
That's true.
How did that happen? How was that a thing?
Yo, that's actually true. I'm just realizing, how is that real? I'm making kids, bro, you're blowing my mind. How is that a thing?
But anyway, if they could make us...
I don't think they do that anymore.
I haven't heard about it in years.
That's crazy, man. You just unlocked like a core memory.
Remember...
I wanted one of those things so bad, dude. I went door to door. I begged people to buy it.
Remember we were doing an assembly and they would like bring out the money machine where you stand in it and you like try to catch as much money blowing around.
That's right. That's right. That was one of the rewards. That was one of the big rewards. Like you could stand in there for like 30 seconds and get cash.
Yeah. Man.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
Kids were so pumped about that stuff.
Oh, yeah. I remember for like the first week I was really pumped and I would try and then I would like give up a week after that.
Dude, I was just thinking about this isn't, I mean, you unlocked the core memory and I haven't considered like the implications of what that means, but just a couple of days ago I was rummaging through all my junk and I saw one of the rewards that I wanted so bad. It's this little electronic thing that it's like a Bluetooth player, but you hook it, you connect it to like you just push it up against a box and it like amplifies it. Really stupid. Like looking back, I'm like, this thing probably costs like $5. I don't know why I was so amped about it, but man, as a kid, I was so psyched. I was like, oh yeah, I'm going door to door, So there's definitely, maybe it's the competitiveness in me, but there's definitely ways to incentivize kids rather than, oh, the colleges will look at your grades in, 5 years. That's not going to make a kid go, oh yeah, I mean, my brother, it'll incentivize him, but
yeah,
for most kids, that's not going to be much. So there's got to be better ways.
Yeah. I mean, if they were allowed to do that, then surely, yeah, like you said, the school lunches was actually a great point. I feel like maybe not everyone would be motivated, but that would motivate a decent chunk of the class, right? You're like, hey, instead of eating this lame pizza every time, like we could actually get really good meals every single day, but we need to get our class GPA average like above 3 or something. I bet.
Bro, you're describing just capitalism because if you start giving more people better stuff and incentivizing, people are like, oh, then why are you giving the worst stuff to these kids? And it's like, oh, that's how it always was. It was communism. We all get crap meals.
proof right here
that
kids. Dude, we just proved that communism doesn't work. Right here on the Social Eclipse Podcast.
That's right. You heard it here first. We're really prophesying, philosophizing here.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, I can tell you, man. If good grades would have been better lunches. I mean, those lunches were terrible.
Yeah.
I think it definitely would have incentivized me. Very weird, very like dystopian sounding like idea, but I mean, come on.
Hey, you gotta try something.
You gotta try something, yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely got to be more rewards than just grades, but I don't know what it would be. It's got to be something more immediate, because grades, it's all about your future. Like, honestly, if you're not going to college, then it's the truth that your grades don't matter as long as you pass, right? Because
Oh
once
yeah.
once you
Yeah,
graduate
absolutely.
high school, you never need to look at your GPA again unless you're applying to a college. So
Yeah, we should have figured out like we should have done research before, and maybe we could come back next week and figure out like what is it about these other countries? Like how do they incentivize the kids? And I'm sure there's data out there, you know, because I don't think it just comes down to solely like their parents are way more strict. I think that's part of it, but I think there's more to it that we just don't know.
well, tell you what, man, we don't need to wait until next week. I'll just look it up right now.
ChatGPT it.
That's exactly what I'm doing.
Yeah, that's
All
what
right.
I'm talking about.
East Asia. So these are the highest national exam averages in the world.
Yeah, doesn't shock me.
Okay, a lot of it, I can't believe we didn't even think about this. It's cultural expectation, right? Like,
Oh yeah.
if you flunk a class or you flunk out of school, then that's going to bring like dishonor to your family. As silly as that sounds to us, like that's a
Yeah.
huge thing over
No,
there.
that's real. That's a real thing. Yeah.
Okay,
Does that just mean we're like society, like in America, is if we just like don't expect enough of ourselves? Like we settle for mediocrity?
yeah, I guess so. I mean, I don't think
We're
people
not
really
ambitious?
care about each other or about their friends' like grades as much as they might over there because things are so competitive. Like
Yeah.
if I had a good friend and he flunked out of a class, I'd be like, man, sorry to hear that, dude. That sucks. Like I'm not gonna look down on him. But
Yeah.
over there, maybe it's more of a frowned upon thing.
Yeah.
Another thing is public ranking of students or classes. So that is something I've noticed is like it is before we went to college, but it wasn't too long ago, maybe early 2000s. Everyone's test grades would be posted like right outside of the professor's office, like on a billboard. Have you ever seen that in like movies?
Wait, no, but are we just talking about like shame? Like we're just like publicly shaming, you
No,
know?
it wouldn't be.
Oh, I've seen them in the movies. I know what you're talking about. Like in the like cartoons, like, oh, you got an A, you got this. Yeah, but I've never heard of that in real life.
Yeah, no, it used to be a really big thing, and I actually think it would be a better idea, not because of shame, but
Yeah.
because it is like additional pressure. Like, hey, if I
That's
do
shame,
poorly
dude.
on this test, then like nobody's gonna shame me for it, but everyone's gonna know, you know?
Yeah, yeah. It's not the worst idea in the world.
Yeah. So everything over there is public ranking, lots of extra after school instructions like cram schools, whatever that is, extra studying hours, I guess.
Yeah.
There's a lot more teacher authority and discipline and fewer chances to retake or recover from poor performance. So,
Yeah, that's true. Man, I'm actually really liking the publicly posting grades. Can you imagine, like, if you had a girl in your class that you really liked, then you better believe you're getting a good grade on the test.
that's
Like,
true.
it's that simple. That's really that simple.
No, I mean, I could definitely see that. Like, maybe it's not going to be your biggest motivator, but if I know that my
Yeah.
grade is going to be out there for everyone to see, then I'm going to be like, dang, like I should at least study a little bit. I don't want to I don't want to be the only one in the class to get an F. Like that would be really embarrassing, right?
Right.
So,
Yeah, I mean, we could talk about motivation all day, and I think that's definitely a topic that should be discussed and looked at and studied. But I mean, what about like resources? I feel like it's really hard in maybe not in college. Colleges do better, but in K through 12, like tutoring is tough. And I don't know about you, man, but like tutoring was kind of like I was ashamed to be tutored. Like in grade school, it was almost like, man, if you have a tutor, you're stupid, right? Like I'm not sure. Maybe that's just me.
no, I could definitely see that for like, yeah, elementary school, middle school, and high school. Not so much in college, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like the pipeline in high school and middle school was very much like you went to school, you went to class, you did your work in class, you did homework. And man, if you got home and you didn't understand it, like you're a kid. I mean, it's kind of hard to approach. Maybe a little bit, it's easier in high school, but like
Your
it
parents
was
aren't going to know
intimidating
how
to
to
go up
teach you,
to
that's for sure.
right, and like some kids don't even want to ask their parents for one reason or another, and it's like, man, to go up to a teacher, like I said, in university, it's kind of no big deal. You're an adult, right? But in high school, middle school, like going up to a teacher and be like, hey, like I don't get this. Can you help me? It's a little hard for some kids, and there's really no anonymous resource, or there's no. Maybe it's easier now with technology, of course, but I remember in school thinking when I was younger that like if you didn't really get things, you were kind of hosed, whether you had the motivation or not, right? Resources seemed like they weren't there for you actually to really apply yourself. I don't know. Maybe that's just me.
No, I see that because whenever I think back to high school, like I remember the only clear time you could ever talk to a teacher was during lunch. And
Yeah.
even then, during lunch, they might have other kids, or you might have kids sitting in the class eating lunch, so you don't want to like go up to the teacher, interrupt his lunch,
Right.
and tell him that you're struggling in front of all these other people.
Right.
I mean, you're
There's
not
no
going to,
office hours or anything like that.
yeah, you can't really come before school because they might not get there until 7:50, and you can't really stay after school if you have extracurricular activities. I mean, there's maybe, I know that some schools do this, but maybe it'd be better to have a studying hour instead of 6 classes back to back.
Dude, it's interesting you bring that up because I just found out a while ago that the high school we went to does that now. They have like literally an hour that's like aside from lunch. I don't know if it's an hour. It might be half an hour. I'll have to ask, but it is. I think it's called study time or whatever, where it's almost literally like office hours. You know, you go to where you're struggling, or you just struggle, or you just struggle, or you just study. And those teachers specifically are like that is the time where you go ask them one-on-one questions. So I didn't think about that until just now, but I think that is a growing. It's a growing like it's a new thing in the system, and I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, because man, even now thinking about, so I've been in college for a while. I'm doing a master's right now, and if I had to sit through, what was that, like 8 hours of classes besides a 30-minute lunch?
Yeah.
Like, how the heck are you supposed to pay attention all day and focus all day and learn all day? I mean, that's insane. You gotta have like a study hour in the middle, or you gotta have recesses. They don't have recess in high school, but you gotta have breaks. There's no way that kids are gonna be able to pay attention for all that time.
Yeah, I mean, even if you wanted to, I think it's more like 7 hours. I mean,
yeah, let's see, it was 8 o'clock to 2:30, right?
At 2:45 or something. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Something like that. So maybe not quite 8 hours, but even still, I mean, even if it was 6 hours, like, can you imagine like giving your full attention, like genuinely, like your full attention to anything for 6 hours? I mean, I could be watching my favorite movie in the world, and there's no way I'm going to get perfectly out of it in 6 hours straight. As a, what if I had like a half-hour break in between, you know, for more than just lunch? I mean, and not to mention they don't even give you much time to eat lunch. I mean, that's your time to socialize, right? I don't think that was enough of a reset. For some people it might have been, but it wasn't for me, I'll tell you that much. There's no way, you know, waking up at 7 a.m. and you have a million other things going on in your life. For kids to be expected to just pay attention like that every day is kind of crazy. And I'm not sure what the solution to that is, but yeah, it's a good point.
Yeah, that's good to hear that they're starting to do study hours, because that's got to be a big help. Even if you don't constantly study the entire time, just the opportunity to, like you said, go visit your teachers or focus on an extra difficult topic for an extra 15 or 20 minutes. Because you're going to have a lot more motivation to do it there during that study hour than waiting until you get home. By the time you get home, you might just say, screw it, I'm not doing homework.
True. Yeah. Two other things I want to bring up while we have the time. The first one is the influence of devices, because Another new thing they're doing in our high school. I don't know if you've heard about this, but I think it's a statewide thing actually. You turn in your phone at the beginning of school, and you don't get it back until the end. Have you heard about this?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah, which is I think it's a big help. I think it's a good idea. I really do. I know the kids probably hate it, but I just wanted to mention that I bet you we'll see some positive changes. Less distraction can only be a good thing.
Yeah, I know that when we were in high school, it wasn't like a huge deal. I think it was starting to become a problem. But
Yeah.
I don't know, when I think about high school, like how much can you get away with though with your cell phone? Do you think that there's actually a bunch of kids on their phones scrolling social media and the teacher just doesn't notice or doesn't care, or do you think it really is a big problem?
You're right. When we were going to school, I only had one teacher that would act like physically take our phones, but most everybody else had a policy like, hey, if I see your phone out, I could take it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think many of us really had a problem with that. But I don't know, maybe it's just me being a boomer, but I've from what I hear, like it's a problem nowadays. Like kids are legitimately like attached to their phones, like they can't put it down, and they are hiding it and everything. I mean, I get texts from my brother in the middle of when he's supposed to be in class. Like that means he's on his phone, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's all hearsay, right? But you make a good point. It wasn't really a problem when we were going to school. I'm not sure what's changed between then and now, but
Yeah.
apparently it's a big enough problem for them to want to take away phones, right? So it has to be.
Hey, you got Fortnite on phones now. What if all the kids are playing Fortnite,
No, that's true.
watching Skippity Toilet?
That's actually true, yeah. I've heard that's a problem, actually. Audrey says that when Fortnite was unbanned in the U.S. a couple months back, like kids just played during class all the time. Or no, Cameron told me that, yeah.
Huh.
So,
Well, it doesn't hurt to try it, so yeah, I'm glad that they're doing it.
yeah. And then the other thing I wanted to bring up, like this is the obvious one. This is why I thought of this topic in the first place. Like what the school, like straight up just not even teach us, forget like strategy, but like subjects that you wish they taught us.
I mean, there's like there's your stereotypical ones like taxes. I know that people bring that up all the time. And I think nowadays they do teach that a little bit, but probably not as much as they should. I think it would be good for there to be like an auto mechanic class because, 95% of the population drives a car like every single day. But the only place I ever learned about auto mechanic issues was in Boy Scouts. So I think they'd be really good. We had like a woodworking class, which was a lot of fun. But they should really have an auto mechanic class where you just learn basic stuff like how to change a tire, how to change your oil and not have to pay $60 every time. I think that would be a really big use for people.
Yeah, I agree. I would say personal finance. You don't learn any of that in high school. Things like, how to invest in the stock market, retirement, 401k, how to budget. I mean, to be honest with you, like these are not complicated subjects. They're not like you could learn the basics and go a long way, right? Like you don't have to deep dive into any of these. As intimidating as they might sound to a high schooler, like you could learn everything I just said in like a month,
right?
Like easily. And I think every kid should be taught that. I really do. I mean, these are things that I have learned since leaving high school, whether from my friends or my family or college classes, and I absolutely think they should be required education for everybody. The other one I'm thinking about is, and this one's weird. I don't know how you do it, but I think social skills, you know what I mean? I'm not sure how you do that. And I could definitely be cringe, like those cringe YouTubers, like here's how to pick up girls. But like, I don't know, man, just like how to interact as adults.
Communication skills, conflict resolution.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Conflict resolution is huge. I think communication skills is huge. Like how to like deal with, I mean, even this is good for kids, you know, like how to deal with bullies. I kind of talked about that a little, but not much. But like, you know, how to respect each other, like the importance of communicating well and like respecting each other's, you know, I don't know.
No,
I just think that kind of stuff is important.
yeah, no, I completely agree. Same thing with like stress management skills.
Oh yeah.
I know that some classes incorporate that a little bit, but there really should be like a required class. Hey, here's how to cope if you lose a loved one. Here's how to cope if you lose your job someday.
Oh yeah.
You know, emotional regulation, how to handle failure, burnout, things like that. Things that almost everyone is going to go through at some point in your lives. And then another one that I just thought of is, dude, I don't know anything about mortgages. And it's like something that every homeowner has to deal with. Like, why have I never learned about mortgages or insurance? Everyone has health insurance and auto insurance, and like I know what it is, but really they should teach us that stuff in high school.
They should. The things that like they don't teach us, but the things you will inevitably run into. I mean, these are things that everybody runs into. You could anything. Like if it falls under those two categories, you know what I mean? Then it should be taught. Because not everybody goes to college. I mean, that sounds like a simple statement, but like, I don't know. Why are we teaching things in college that we're not teaching in high school that are like core basics of like how to live, you know, that everybody's going to run into?
Right.
It's almost like exclusive, right? I don't get that. College should be honing into a certain, you know, set of skills, like a very specific set of skills, not all this stuff that everybody should learn about. So
yeah, I would much rather sit through any of those classes we just named instead of an extra layer of complicated calculus that I'll never use.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, really? 100%. You really think that we're ever going to use this in our life, especially when we got like all of our tools these days? Maybe they're just trying to prop up their test scores, but like, come on.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe they're too lazy to bring out new curriculum. But I mean, how hard can it be? I mean, these are not super complicated topics, right? And not to mention, why are you doing all this? I mean, you're effectively building a smarter generation to go out and, you know, better members of society. I think in the long run, I think it's a great thing. So,
yeah, I feel like a lot of poverty level or lower income level people in America today, like obviously a lot of it is out of their hands, but a lot of it could be solved just by teaching them these really basic things in high school. Like we said, how to budget, how to avoid going to debt by too much. I don't know. It's like you could probably solve a lot of America's problems just by teaching this to all the youth.
Yeah, I had no idea how to use a credit card when I graduated high school. No idea. I had to be taught, like, you know, how it works, like paying minimums versus like paying it off all at once, like what that meant. Just all that, like very basic stuff. And like I said, like you can learn it really quickly. So it's not like, oh, you're so lazy, go learn it yourself. It's not about that. It's just that these are things that everybody should be equipped to know. Like it should be required education rather than, like calculus. Like why are we teaching seniors calculus? I know it challenges them and everything, but like we could be teaching them these other fundamentals in the meantime. In my opinion, that's what we should be doing instead.
Yeah, I don't know. There's got to be reasons why they're not doing it now, but I hear it all the time. Like everyone is disappointed in the education of America, and for whatever reason, nothing has changed in like the past decade that I've heard that. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, these things sound obvious, but they're hard to implement, I guess. But and you'll always run into pushback because things have been. I mean, how much has the education system really changed, right? In the past, like 100 or so years, probably not much. So progress is slow, but I don't know. I feel like all it takes is you get one state to like introduce some of these new programs, and then you start seeing better test scores. You start seeing, just better stats overall. So it has to be recorded. It has to be measured, and that way you can prove that it actually works. I guess. That's what it takes.
Yeah. All right. Well, we are approaching the hour mark, so I do have one final question for you, Buck. Unless you got anything else.
Well, I could pose it in a question after you're done with yours.
Okay. So my question is education in America meant to free the mind, or is it meant to produce conformity?
Whoa. There's the philosophy.
At the 1 hour mark,
wow.
there's a little bit of philosophy to throw in there.
There we go. Wow, that's deep. Man, that is a good question. I'll be honest, I don't think it's conformity. I think that's what you guys probably wanted to hear. That's the most interesting answer. But I genuinely think, like, the government is scared that we're, like, not being taught certain things at home, and that they need to teach us it in public school. And to be completely honest with you, I think that is a correct way of looking at it. I do. I think that that's the whole point of forcing kids to go to school, is because you need to teach them certain things that they may or may not learn in other places. I think that's a very valid concern. I just don't think they're doing that as effective as they need to be. That's what this podcast was about to me. So I don't think the intention is wrong, in my opinion. I just think it's the execution that could be improved.
Yeah, I would agree. I think that they're trying to make us free thinkers where we can make our own decisions, be big boys in our big boy pants once we graduate and actually go off and be adults. But a lot of the time, like, since it's such a massive thing to control, they do have to do it through, like, very tight regulations, very specific classes. You can't go... The United States is so diverse wherever you go that, you can't go to every single school district in the country, look at their weaknesses and strengths, and then change it all. Like, that's what the school board is there for. But the only thing the government really can do is making, like, the best broad general outline as they can, and then trying to direct all these school districts into being more precise in their teaching methods. So maybe I'm not giving the government enough credit. They do have a big job. I'll give them that.
Yeah, true. So I got one more thing, and I guess I can't really make it a question, but this is maybe an opinion I have that might be kind of a hot take. Maybe not, but I think we kind of don't, I'm not going to say we don't invest enough money into the system, but I feel like we kind of don't, I guess, appreciate teachers. And I guess you could say they need to be paid more of this or that, but maybe they're also not vetted enough. Because I know this is mean and this is not, I guess people will agree, but, like, there are some really bad teachers out there, dude. I think everybody will agree with that. I mean, would you agree? Like, think about all of our teachers in high school. I mean, I didn't like half of them. I mean,
Yeah,
like,
I would agree. There are a lot of bad teachers out there.
Kid. Yeah, and you could say, oh, you're a stupid kid. Of course, you're not going to like half the kid. But I don't know. I think that matters. I mean, there are teachers out there. Just look at Rate My Professor. I mean, regardless of whether they deserve to be rated that low or not, the kids are not connecting to these teachers. So I'm not sure. Maybe we need to be stricter about who we're letting teach the kids, because we've agreed that the method in which you teach is really important. I don't know, man. For me, there were so many teachers in high school that I just, for whatever reason, I just could not connect with. You know what I mean? And I feel like that made a huge difference. So I'm just not thinking about that now. Maybe we need to be a lot stricter about who the position goes to and who are in these positions of you know, actually making a difference, because those are the ones that are going to make the difference, right? They're going to make these decisions that we've talked about. So maybe it's their problem rather than the government's problem. But
no, I think that's a great point. I would say on one hand, it comes down to passion. Like, do you remember Mr. Wynn?
Yeah.
He was a math teacher in like middle school or something.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. The Kansas guy.
I remember I would always, even though I hated math, I would always look forward to his class just because like he was so young and passionate and he loved teaching kids. And I feel like that's a huge thing for teachers. And I mean, I can't be too much of a hypocrite because I know that after you do it for 15 or 20 years, maybe at some point it goes from something you're passionate about to a job. You know, you're just trying to get through the day with these stupid kids, stupid Gen Z and Gen Alpha. But a big thing would have to be passion. But at the same time, on the other hand, you know, beggars can't be choosers. I don't know how many people are trying to be teachers these days, but we need a lot of them, right? There's probably 30 to 100 teachers at schools, depending on the size. And that's throughout the entire country. We need a lot of teachers constantly, especially for the boomers who are retiring. And when that happens, it's like, hey, if you only have 3 people applying, then you don't have a ton of options. You don't have that super passionate guy or gal who's there to like be happy every single day and put a smile on and give it her best shot. Like sometimes you just got to take the best choice, and that's all you get.
I mean, it's a hard job, but I'm thinking about the teachers I didn't like, you know what I mean? Regardless of how much I like the subject, my enthusiasm would just die. You know, if they weren't into it, like I was like, I checked out, right? And part of that's on me. I get that, but you know, they're kids. What do you expect from them? And it does make a huge difference. But like you said, it's hard. You can't expect someone to love their job every day. And, you know, are you going to find, if you got 100 teachers per school, are you going to find 100 teachers for every school that like loves their job? Probably not. But I don't know. We're trying to find problems in the system. I thought that was worth mentioning.
Maybe they're always so tired because they spend all their life outside of school LARPing.
Oh, I thought you were just gonna say because I have to deal with kids.
Well, that too.
The LARPing is good. Should we give context or just leave it at that?
No, we could leave it at that. Don't want to.
We'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, don't want to.
That's for any teachers out there. Just a tip. If you want to blow off some steam, you know, in your free time, LARPing is, you know, that is an activity for you. Just something to think about.
Yep, it's true.
Yeah.
All right. Awesome. Well, great episode. Once again, we don't have all the answers, but I think we touched on a lot of good points. And hopefully something's done in the next few years. If not by the government, then Toast and Buck will step in, and that's a promise. We'll make something happen. We'll fix the educational system ourselves.
Yeah. Post your grades for the semester in the comments. We'd love to see them. And don't forget to check out Skittles. Skittles use code grade A.
Ooh, grade A under A.
A under A. And you'll get 50% off. 50% off your Skittles order.
That's right. Make sure you use that. Get your Skittles. All right, guys. Thanks so much for listening to another episode, and we'll catch you guys next week. Happy holidays.
Peace.